Hi, welcome to the G2 Gallery Podcast. I'm Jared, and today we're going to continue our Eastern Sierra Land Trust series with Rick Kattelmann. How are you, Rick?
I'm good, thank you, Jared.
Thanks for coming down. Now, you're living up in the Eastern Sierra area?
Yes, I am.
Where?
Have been for 20-odd years.
Oh, wow.
Kind of halfway between Bishop and Mammoth.
Okay. And what's the area called?
Sunny Slopes.
Sunny Slopes. I have heard of that. And so I have an interesting question for you. It's a little off the photography, but a hydrologist specialist. Is that what it is? A hydrologist? What is it?
I have been a hydrologist. Just working with various influences of water on the environment.
Right. And you deal with snow?
In particular, yeah, but specialized in snow.
So can you describe that just a little bit for us?
Sure. California is mostly dependent on the snowmelt runoff for its water supply for our cities and farms. Mm-hmm. And the better we can forecast how much and when it ends up in the reservoirs, they're easier to manage.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of effort for the last 60-odd years to improve those forecasts, and that's what I worked on for a few decades.
So you measure. I mean, depending off the snowfall, while the snow is falling, like during the winter when the snow is falling, what's like the sort of like day-to-day, week-to-week thing that you do? Is it measuring it, or is it like?
Well, most of my so-called career in that was trying to improve the techniques for making the forecasts, for taking the routine measurements and turning them into some number that the water districts and the end users could take advantage of.
Yeah. Is it come down to like weighing, or what is it?
Well, to get the measurements themselves, there's two basic approaches, one of which is automated, and it's a giant scale which sits out on the floor, either in some opening in the forest or in some other kind of clearing, and basically it weighs how much snow is sitting on it.
Yeah.
And those are relatively accurate, but a much better way is for human beings to go out and take a core sample of how much snow is sitting on the ground and then weigh that.
Yeah.
And by doing a series of those, and you get an average and get some index of how much water is sitting on the ground.
Right. Because water is like, especially for Southern California, water is a hot commodity.
It sure is.
Yeah. When did you start photographing?
As a pretty young kid, 9 or 10 maybe.
And when did your parents buy you a camera? Or?
Literally a box Brownie.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah, an old Kodak took 1/27 size film.
Wow. And then you started photographing. Then that was your interest growing up, or?
Yeah, I don't know. Took to it for some reason or other, and enjoyed it, and then got very lucky when I was in high school when some family friends and a next door neighbor passed away, and I inherited their much better gear.
Yeah. And
that made it a whole lot easier.
What have you noticed, like growth of your photography?
Good question. It's had an awful lot to do with the time available to spend on it, I'm afraid. There's been some fits and starts when I was more focused on other stuff and just opportunities that came along and so on. Certainly the move from chemical darkroom to computer processing of the images was a major break point. Just because while you were still trying to do some of the same things, the technological capabilities were just so vastly different and more extensive, really. Is it? Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
The possibilities for fooling around with the images just got exponentially greater.
Yeah. This is Jared from the G2 Gallery podcast. Thanks.